You're watching Every Days and Saturdays, USMC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Brian. Boom, man. What's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining me on another great day, another great interview. And I hope you guys are all having an amazing day, amazing week, whatever it may be. And also, if you guys would like to be part of the show, we're looking for some guests. If you would like to share your story, if maybe you were a veteran, first responder, or maybe you're just an advocate for veterans, we'd love to have you on the show. And you can email me every day is a Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com. Let me see if I can actually get this up better so you can see it. There you go. You can kind of see it right there. And also, if you're struggling out there, remember there's a crisis lifeline out there for you veterans. You can, you dial 988 and you press 1. Hopefully it'll put you in touch with someone who can put you in the right direction. Maybe you just need to get something off your chest and you want to do it discreetly. They are there for you. And hopefully, like I said, if you're need some resources, maybe they can give you some numbers, give you some contacts, and get you pointed in the right direction. And that way, you don't do nothing. And we need you guys all here. Let's go ahead and talk about our next guest. Our next guest served in the United States Army, and he is the founder of 7 Principle Group. He's helped over 25,000 veterans transition to civilian life and created the 7 Principles app, an AI tool that gives vets real-time support with resumes and benefits. Along this, he's active in real estate, private equity, and working toward becoming a licensed NFL agent. Very interesting. So here to tell his story and talk all about himself, here we go. We got Chas Sampson. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Brian? How are you?
Hey, man, I can't complain. And if I did, you know how they say,
It wouldn't matter much.
Right.
No one would care.
No one would care.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I care about you, and I'm excited to have you on the show. We
Likewise.
got some great things to talk about, and you're another one of those amazing veterans out there. Served your country proud, and now you're out there doing great and amazing things. You didn't just stop, with your service. So, what
Cool.
we'd like to do here on the story is kind of, take us down that ride and talk about how, where you grew up, what made you decide to go into the Army, and you weren't ready to be a Marine yet. Understood? And
I like number 2 pencils, so the crayon thing it just didn't get well. It didn't sit well with me. So,
hey, man, I get it. Not crayons it for everybody. But then, talk about what you did in the Army, and don't sell us short there. Let us know what you did. And after that, let us know what getting out of the Army looked like for you. A lot of, veterans kind of struggle right there, right off rip, man. When we get out of, our duties, we get out in the civilian world, and then we're like, what next? So love to hear that. And then we want to hear all about what you got going on, man, and hear about the 7 Principles and this new app and how you're helping our brothers and sisters out there and other people. So the floor is now yours, Chas.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. And for listeners out there, I'm so happy to be a part of this, and hopefully I can offer value. And if you find value in this, of course, be sure to get in touch with Brian or myself and just say, hey, thanks for sharing some value. So, for me, I grew up in North Carolina. I was born in New Jersey, and then we migrated south to North Carolina. I grew up in Fayetteville, right outside of Fort Bragg. And my inspiration for joining the Army was seeing men and women jump out of airplanes. That was simply put. We used to go to Sicily Drop Zone. My auntie Paula, she was 92 Foxtrot, like myself. I was 92 Foxtrot as well. But she was part of 82nd Airborne Division, and we would go watch her, jump. And I always found inspiration in that. I thought it was pretty cool, badass stuff. And so, as
what's
kids,
a 92 Foxtrot? Sorry,
petroleum. Yeah, petroleum.
Okay.
Yep. And so, as kids, me and my brothers, we would take these hefty, heavy duty garbage bags. We got punished for it by our parents, but they're pretty expensive. We'd take these hefty garbage bags, we'd punch holes in them and put our arms through them, climb into trees and jump out like we were parachuting. And so, I just knew that.
Already jacking yourself up right off rip, man. Bad landings.
Right off rip, man. No PLF, nothing. Just jumping out of a tree. And so, obviously we couldn't get enough air in the bags. We had to go climb higher. It was bad, man. My parents were really upset about that. But But I knew from that day on that I wanted to join the army, and I was always really good at school. From a little kid, I was always in academically gifted courses from childhood all the way through my master's degree program. And while I was in college, I honestly started thinking to myself, like, I want to diversify my portfolio. I want to set myself aside from other folks that are in my age bracket. And I felt like the military was going to be the best investment at the time. And the Iraq War I kicked off, and they were offering 40,000 to join the army. And one day I never forget, I was in college. I think I was a sophomore at the time, and a Go Army commercial came on. It's like, go, be all you can be. No, I think it was actually Army of One at the time, or maybe it's be all you can be. It was one of the two. But one of those campaigns came on, and I saw
Be
guys
all you
repel.
can be sounds about that time frame. So
Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah, and so I saw that, and it resonated with me. And being from North Carolina, from Fayetteville, I just knew what I was getting myself into. I did ROTC as well, and I literally left that day and went to the recruiting office, took the ASVAB. I scored a 97 on the ASVAB, and my recruiter said, "You can have any job you want." They
dang.
wrote the red carpet for me. They gave me $33,000 to join. I wasn't going to the Marine Corps. I wasn't going to the Marine Corps. So this was so crazy, Brian. I went to the
They
Marine
probably
Corps.
didn't give you no money like that though.
No, hell no. So I got there, and the guy was like, "Hey, we have no money in the budget to give you, but it's pride to be a Marine." So I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna table
Mm,
this one and come back." I went to the Navy because I am a decent swimmer. I went to the Navy as well, and they also had something very similar. Like, we don't have much money to give you. The Air Force had the budget, but didn't have the time, so I had to wait 6 months to leave, and I was ready to go right
mhm.
then and there. The Army got me out on time, or on my time frame, which was like right now, and they gave me $33,000 to join, so that worked for me. And so, yeah, I joined the Army back in 2006. I had served for 5 years. I did a deployment to Iraq for 15 months, learned a lot, grew a lot. And then getting out the military, actually, unlike most veterans, my transition was extremely smooth. I had planned to stay in, and I planned to also get out. And I was going to join the officer corps, become an officer. When that Looking at the officer side versus staying in, enlisted side, or just getting out. Getting out was in my better interest financially. So I got out. I finished my
Let
bachelor's
me let
degree.
me ask you a quick
Yeah,
question before we move on there.
yeah.
Um, Now you getting out and kind of having a smooth transition, do you feel that maybe you going in probably a little bit more mature at your age, and you going on your own terms really,
Hmm.
do you think that had anything kinda to do with your transition getting out? Because I mean, I'm trying to translate because sometimes I do wonder, I do hear a lot of older, gentlemen or women that get out that go in and then get out kinda seem that, like, they have a little bit of a smoother transition, and I don't know if that's a mentality thing
Yeah.
or whatnot.
I think it's a mentality thing. So the thing, Brian, I've been working all my life. I had a grass cut business when I was 12, and
Okay.
I did it from there. I worked in the
Just
grocery
ambitious.
stores, and I
Yeah,
was always ambitious, man. Always looking for a new opportunity, and always just excelling whatever I did. So with that, you have to be a good planner. You can't run a business
sure.
at 12, 13 and not be a planner. I just naturally
You
have always been a planner. God has just blessed me, Brian, with the ability to just have foresight and vision, but
uh,
also plan the little small things to get to the big wins, right? And so for me, at 17, I knew that I wanted to do something different in the world. But I knew I had to pay my dues and take my time to get there, and pay my respects and just work my ass off and get there. So at 19, I'd already had a plan to do 20 years or to do one enlistment. It was one of the two. And I said, if I do more than one enlistment, I'm doing 20. I'm not going to do 4 years and then re-enlist
right.
another four and then leave. I'm going to go all the way 20. And so I knew at 19 that by the time I was 24, I needed to figure out whether I'm going to stay in or not. So at 23, 22 and some change after I came back from Iraq, that's when I started really identifying whether I wanted to stay in or not. I did everything I could to stay in as far as like paperwork is concerned. I considered recruiting. I considered drill sergeant. I considered OCS, and I considered civilian work. And I would weigh all four options. And the time value of money is what really kind of determined what I wanted to do. I was 25 at the time, or about to turn 25, and I knew that I had only X amount of working years until I can't work anymore, like, or I don't want to work anymore. And for me, that age for me was 55. At 55, I want to be in a position where financially things are taken care of. I can live a life that I want to live, and I knew that I only had a finite amount of time to make that much money. So the time value of money really took precedence. And I have a master's in finance as well, so I mean, I'm a finance guy. So the time value of money just really took precedence, and I decided to get out. And it's been the best thing I ever could have done for me. Not for everybody. It's not for everyone. But it takes a lot of grit, a lot of sacrifice, a sprinkle of luck here and there. And yeah, here I am.
Yeah, you know what? And you just always sound like you've kind of made good decisions, throughout your
Yeah.
life, and not a lot of people can say that, right? A lot of us say we made a lot of bad decisions, and it sounds like you've kind of, pretty much like even from a young age, you had a good head on your shoulder. Obviously, you had a good upbringing,
Mhm.
and you had a good support system around you to kind of filter that, right? Because I mean,
Absolutely.
sometimes we get suppressed with things we want to do because our parents, that's not in it for them, like,
Mhm.
whatever. But when you do have parents and other people that kind of help you push you along, and hey, you wanna have like a lawnmower business? Let me help
Let's
you,
do it. Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, let's get you going versus nah, that's just too much and you can't do it, or discouraging someone off
Mhm.
rip. So it sounds like you've had a very good, like some, people there to kind of push you and help you along.
Absolutely, yeah. I grew up in a super conservative Christian home in the South in North Carolina. We were taught God, country, and football, so we served God. No offense to listeners or to yourself, but
But
we
you don't
served
have to
God.
ever say that, man. There's no offending, nothing, you
You know,
know?
as a CEO now, I come across so many different people that have so many different, ideologies and the way
Sure.
they, so I always try to just pay a little respect, or at
I
least
get that.
recognize
That's
them,
respectful.
Just,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's
And
respectful.
so, yeah, we grew up at God, country, and football. We went to church about 4 times a week, and my parents were really big on like respecting your neighbors, respecting people in general. It's yes sir, no sir. We grew up with spankings too. That was the thing in our home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
Yep.
played football all my life, and
Yep.
I was just, of course, with football, it's a very disciplined sport. And I had coaches that also embodied the same principles. So it was just always around me 24/7. Like, this is the man you will be. You be a man of respect. You respect your elders, respect your peers, be a good person. And so that one kept me out of legal trouble, obviously, because my parents were not having that. I was not coming home to with problems with the law.
Right.
That my
Yeah.
parents would take me to jail themselves. So
Sure.
they were not playing that. And in our church, I had a good church home. Evangelical House of God is where I grew up in church in North Carolina. Very good church home. Our pastor, rest his soul, he passed away some years ago. He was also Edison Airborne. I looked up to him. His name is Bishop Troy, or Apostle Troy, excuse me. His wife, Apostle Troy, Juanita Troy, is still alive today. I think she's got to be like mid 90s, like 95, 94. Amazing people, Brian. And I had a chance to see him and other deacons in the church that really just stayed on my ass, man. I mean, I never got a break. And so I was able to see the leadership they had. Most of them were in the army as well. So I was always around an army influence. I think if I lived in Jacksonville, North Carolina, I probably would have went to Marine Corps, had the same kind of upbringing, but just Marine Corps style. But this is Army style, and I learned attention to detail at like 8 years old. My dad also enforced that. My mom did as well, and yeah, it just really helped me be on the straight and narrow, and it's blessed me because now the things I do require extensive background checks. I have a top secret security clearance when I was in the government, federal civilian, as well as serving in the military. And then now the things I do from NFL agent stuff to CEO stuff to mortgage stuff, all that stuff requires you to be solvent. It requires you to be disciplined. It requires you to also have a good background. And I'm fortunate that I've always just been a clean kid and never had no problems in school. And folks always loved me. I always had a charismatic personality. And yeah, God has just really blessed me, Brian.
Yeah, man. It just sounds like you've had amazing guidance, like I
Hmm.
said, throughout your life. And um, that's an important message, for people out there, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because you could have anybody can go off the path, but if you got people guiding you,
Oh, yeah.
constantly and wanting to see you do well, it's amazing things. And something you touched on that really nails in for me. I mean, I we kind of have similar upbringings. I was born in a Christian home and raised in a Christian, valued home, and things of that nature. um Played football, love
Hmm.
football my life, and I really think football kept me grounded, right?
Absolutely.
It required you to get at least a 2.5 or better,
Oh, yeah.
in your classes. You had to show up for your classes.
Hmm.
A lot of times the teachers are coaches on the campus, and teachers know each other, and they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so and so ain't showing up or something. Then boom,
Hmm.
next thing you know, at the end of practice, you're running wind sprints because you did something in
Yep.
the second period. So
Absolutely.
it, I think that getting kids in sports is a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that you can learn from sports. Unfortunately, I think that they make sports almost unattainable for some kids out there because of price tags on it,
It's
and
very
cost
expensive.
it's very expensive to play
Yep.
football, right? I mean,
Yeah.
my son went to play, it was like almost $500, and I'm like
Yeah.
thinking, oh my gosh, there's families out there that probably just can't give their child that
Absolutely.
opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think that our communities need to find a better way of how we can get the opportunity for all kids to get a
Hmm.
chance to go out there and play football and get a chance to learn a little bit of a structure, and
Yeah.
find out that, hey, it's not just mom and dad that yell at me too. There's coaches out there, and there's people out there that have expectations from you and
Hmm.
demand from you. It's not just always your parents, and you want to rebel against your parents all the time. So,
And the cool thing
um,
is, it's a consistent message. Like you hear something at home, as you hear in practice, as you hear in church, or as you hear in school. It's consistent. So it must not just only be mom and dad. It must just be the way things work. And you then of course form yourself into that practice of behavior, and you become that man or woman that you want to be. So yeah, absolutely. Sports is it's very expensive, but very critical, especially here in Texas. Sports is really big here, and there are
oh
so many
yeah,
options, and it's so expensive. My daughter, she's a track star, and so that alone, we spend anywhere between 5 to 7 thousand per year
yeah,
just from like
easily,
cleats
right?
and equipment, and then every game they tax us like $100, and I'm paying for the whole family to go, and yeah, it's quite a bit, but it's worth it though for sure.
It is, it's you're basically investing into your kid, right? Whether
Absolutely.
they decide in life like, oh, they're going to be a pro in this sport or they're going to go all the way, that's not exactly, the payout you're looking for. It's more
Yep.
of the lessons of life that they can learn from the sport, from a coach, from their
Absolutely.
teammates, and things like that. Putting them in a position where they got to do something for others or things like
Hmm.
that. And it's a great way to have something to kind of ground you, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like
Absolutely.
as humans we need to be grounded, or otherwise we're out there just running amok, you
Flap it
know.
in the wind.
Yeah, right. So, expand a little bit more on your time in the army and your experiences and how what you learned being in the army and things that you kind of took away from it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the Army was I've made a lot of investments over my lifetime, and the Army was by far one of the most critical and best investments that had the best ROI I ever could calculate. I can't even calculate the ROI just from some of the soft skills I've developed, as well as the hard assets I was able to acquire as well. But I think my most defining moment was my deployment to Iraq. It really taught me patience. It taught me dealing with people that are significantly less than me. I mean, you're dealing with folks in communities that may not have running water. They may not know where the next meal is at, where the meal is coming from. They're really relying on U.S. forces to make ends meet in some degree. And then you also have bad guys, right? I mean, in the same setting, you got a good guy and a bad guy, right? Just kind of a cliche guy statement, if you will, as a blanket all. But it taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me diplomacy. It taught me how to make things happen with those that are, less, more, or middle. I think that's why I'm just so grateful for what I have in my life, even though I'm a very blessed individual. But I think my best time as far as duty station, do station was just learning different leadership styles and learning how to bite my tongue. Obviously, there's a lot of men and women that are serving now that listen to your podcast that probably hate the military because they're in a certain unit. I had that experience as well. It taught me how to deal with people I didn't want to deal that I really wouldn't want to work with. It also taught me a lot of discipline on my tongue because I am a very vocal person. I know how to communicate effectively, and also can communicate things that aren't going to be offensive or won't be disrespectful, but it may not be what an E7 want to hear from an E4, right? It kind of steps outside of the lane of it steps to the lane of insubordination. So I had to learn how to be a little bit more tongue in cheek, and that also helped me out with current experience I experience with now. There's people I deal with now that I don't want to deal with. I deal with so many people every day, Brian. I probably talk to anywhere between 50 to 75 people every single day about 20 different things, literally. So I'm doing a lot of people. Some folks I don't want to deal with. Some folks aren't competent. Some folks are very competent. It's a whole mixed bag, if you will. But it taught me a lot. But I think the biggest thing that it did teach me is how to be tongue in cheek, how to build relationships with people that I may not agree with or want to work with, and how to just see things through to get to the mission, to get the mission complete. The Army is more of a diplomatic entity where our role in some sense is to bring communities together and try to find ways to get these parties to work together. Sometimes it does require hostile action, but most times you can do it through soft power, if you will. But that has helped me on a corporate level transition too. So, and that just be it may just be my personal experience, what I experienced in the Army, just from being in certain duty stations, certain missions that we had. But that's what I took from it, and that's what's helped me out in my career thus far.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own experience. We could all do practically the same thing and come out with a
Hmm.
different experience, no doubt.
Yep.
You know, uh, being, going to combat and stuff like that and going into a different country, it is by far the one of the most humbling
Scary.
experiences I think
Yeah.
you'll ever been through, right? I
Yep.
mean, it will drop you to your knees. It will make you understand some things, and
Hmm.
I think that's one of the struggles when you come back home, right? Is you hear
Yeah.
people bitching and complaining about certain things like, "Oh, my Wi-Fi's not working good," or saying,
Yeah.
man,
You know how blessed you are.
yeah, like that's the least of your worries,
We call them
um,
first world problems in our home.
you learn real fast, how blessed we are,
Hmm.
to be in America and to live the way we do and to have the freedoms that we have here. You know,
Absolutely.
we have a lot of freedoms that people don't even quite comprehend
Hmm.
for others. Like there's other countries out there that don't even have an opportunity that American does,
Yep.
and we get to see that kind of stuff firsthand, and being it's a big difference when you're always on the state side and you serve in
Yep.
states and we see the US. We're around, yes, there is diversity, but a
Yep.
lot of, it's very saturated with our culture here.
Hmm.
But you go
Absolutely.
over there, you're saturated with the new culture. It is their
Hmm.
way, and they don't bend for America, and you just learn so much, man. The custom and
Absolutely.
courtesies over there, right?
Yep.
Like,
Mhm.
like waving a certain hand is kind of an insult to them, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's things that you start to learn. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
And but by far, it is extremely humbling experience. Another thing that you kind of touched on that I couldn't really agree with you because I experienced it in the Marine Corps. My first unit that I went to put a very bad taste in my mouth for
Hmm.
the rest of my career.
Mm.
And just due to the bad leadership in there, right? I
Yeah.
guess they just had no other time but to mess with us. And
Yep.
and you know, and I'm not just talking about doing things that you should be doing. It's going out of your way to do stuff that makes someone feel fucking uncomfortable, or
Absolutely.
you just really want to piss them off and rev their
Yep.
engine, and just for no freaking reason.
Yep.
Like I got an NCO to a non-NCO, he's got trash in between his feet, and he's telling the non-NCO to pick up the trash in between his feet, man, right, right
Hmm.
below his ball sack. Come on, dude.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
that's
second duty
just
station.
disrespect. You know what I
It's
mean?
disrespectful. Absolutely. Yeah. My second duty station was like that. I was at Fort Lewis, my second duty station in Washington State, and I'm not gonna say his name. I think he's amazing. I think he has evolved into an amazing leader, since I left the military. But my platoon sergeant at that time, he was one of the massive aggravating factors of why I decided to leave. Seriously. I was at the point where I was sick and tired of like some of the things we were going. I mean, listen to this, Brian. It'd be 0620. We're about to do was it Reveille in the morning? We'd be in the front line of rest, which is the push-up position for the army guys. We're doing push-ups as a whole entire platoon at 6:25 until the flag comes up. I mean, it was just silly stuff. We'd stay in the motor pool until after 1700 for just because he felt like it. There were times where we would look up at a time and say it's 1700. Hopefully, insert his name here is in a good mood, because if he is, we're going home, and we will see him come pull up in his truck. And if he got out looking a certain way, we're like, oh yeah, okay, we're gonna be here until like 1830, 1900 hours. And it was just a lot of stuff like that. And I was at the time I was getting my education as well, so I was falling behind in school because he felt a certain way sometimes. And my commander would say we could do certain things and he would differ, and that just my commander didn't want to get involved with platoon level stuff. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I definitely understand where you're coming from, because it was one of the massive factors that allowed me to think, this isn't for me. I think that if I stay in this leadership, this chain of command, yes, he will move on. I will as well at some point, but when, I don't know. I want to go somewhere else. My life here is miserable. And quite frankly, I have enough assets to do other things outside of the military. And so, yeah, I would say that experience in that platoon at that duty station back in 2000, I think 10. That's when that was one of the. I think that was like half my decision. That was 50% of my decision making process of like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then the squad leaders, they were cool. But they also follow the platoon leader, the platoon sergeant, not the platoon leader. So it's just, yeah, the whole entire leadership was kind of toxic. There was only like a few guys that really understood what I was doing, that actually follow me on social media now. They really love what I've been able to achieve. And I made that very clear. I was going to do these things. I told them these things 15 years ago. This is what I'm going to do. When I got the military, I'm going to do these things. And I know most guys don't accomplish it. I'm probably I know I'm part of 1% of it, but I accomplish them and some. And so, and I give back to those guys now. Some of those guys have done a case for them for free because I just really love who they have become as men and women. And yeah. So you're right. That toxic leadership, I think it becomes one of those things where you get rid of some of the really good guys and gals that really can offer the Marine Corps and the Army, respectively, here a great asset to our country. And because of one or two toxic leadership members, it causes that person to want to leave.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, there's also a part in my head that says I don't want to be that leader. I don't want to,
Exactly.
I don't want to become part of that. I
Hmm.
don't want to become that same guy because it seems like it's almost like you get raised into it and it's just
Hmm.
becomes part of the rank, right?
Yep.
Like each rank requires so much of this much of an asshole or what.
Yep.
And another thing you kind of said that resonates I guess I'm gonna put it more into terms is that I feel like a lot of the staff NCOs aren't cheering for you.
Yeah,
They're
they're not
almost working against you, and they don't
against you.
almost
Yep.
want you to do better. They feel threatened by you when you decide you wanna do something to further yourself beyond the military too, right? Like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I wanna go get my
Yeah. Oh yeah.
education." "Oh, now that I'm gonna make that shit hard as fuck for you."
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
you wanna get your education? Well, that's fine." "Oh, you got an assignment due today? Well, guess what? We got, such and such
Hmm.
going on
You're
today.
going
We
to the
got an
field.
inventory," or, "Yeah, we're going to the field this
Yep.
weekend." It just they do some things sometimes to spite you, right?
Yeah.
Or just because, that's why like someone doesn't say it's their birthday,
Hmm.
because you don't want to say it's your birthday, dude, because you're gonna get
Yeah.
razzed so bad.
Absolutely.
It ain't something to really celebrate.
Yep.
Um, and I think that's kind of the toxic part. And you don't really think about it while you're in, but when I go back and I kind of reflect on that,
Hmm.
I think that's very detrimental to really hindering some of these men and women from kind of going and exceeding and wanting to do better and even wanting to further their career. And that's probably why you see a lot of 4 years and done with a lot of these, men and women is because to some point they don't want to be ridiculed or, sometimes you get public humiliation in front of the entire squad or
Hmm.
whatnot,
Platoon squad. Yeah.
platoon, yeah, whoever
Absolutely.
it may be, and you're just getting your ass chewed in front of everybody. I mean, I think that I hope, I mean, and I'm like 20 years removed now. I mean, but I would hope that things have gotten better in a sense. But my daughter is actually dating a Marine, and I'm talking to
Okay.
him, and it sounds like it's really
The
not
same old.
changing much,
Yeah.
and he can't wait, man. He's on that countdown to get out. He gets
Yeah.
out here in December. He's ready, and there's,
Wow.
I
And
mean,
he's
and
probably a damn good Marine too.
yeah, and that's the hard part though. Like that's the sad part for the Marine Corps or even
Mhm.
any military branch. And I can't speak for a lot of others, but you would think that you would want your corps to be badass in or out, right? You
Right.
want you to have a badass warrior while they're in, and you want them to represent you while they're at, because when
Absolutely.
they're out, they're gonna have that veteran, and a lot of them
Absolutely.
will wear a Marine cap or a Army or Air
Hmm.
Force veteran, whatever it may be, and they're gonna rep you.
Yep.
Right? Don't you want them to be like, don't you want people representing you not to be like, oh, he's that guy that lives in his basement and he ain't doing shit.
Hmm.
He's on like 20 something pills. And I mean, that's what they
Yeah.
all, they start doing to all of us. Right. And
Yep.
so, man, they're going to have to do something, I think, better with this, with breeding better leadership. And that way they can continue to grow as a fighting
Hmm.
force.
Yep.
and stop this, like, guys and girls 4 years and they're done. And then you got people within their 4-year commitment committing suicide because they can't handle it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I think we had 23 a day now or something to that effect.
And that's that's
It's
that's
crazy.
that's even talking about the veteran
Better
community.
published too, yeah.
They don't want to talk about the active duty
Active
community.
duty, yeah.
And I didn't really know was such a thing until I talked to my daughter's boyfriend.
Mhm.
And then when he started explaining to me that there's guys and girls still taking their lives in the barracks and stuff, and I'm
Yeah,
just like,
at alarming
"Why?
rates, yeah, it's
How are
unfortunate.
we doing this, man?"
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's sad because sometimes a lot of these guys and gals are leaving their homes.
Mhm.
They wanna do because their homes are not safe
As
havens. They're
functional.
they're 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 trying to get the heck out of a bad situation. They think they're going into the military for security,
Yep. Better
all those
future
things, and then
opportunities. Mhm.
next thing you know, you end up in some bad, platoon right off rip, and they make your experience hell.
Yeah. Yep.
You don't fit in, you
Yep.
know? It's just, yeah. So, I think it was just good to kinda touch on that. I know we kinda went on a little bit of a thing, but I think that's something I don't think we talk about enough on these shows,
Yeah,
right?
I agree
Is
with you.
we always kinda talk about the good. Because there's great things too, but
Mhm. Yeah, they
there's
are.
also these other things that they can do better in.
Yep.
They can do a lot better, and that's
Mhm.
in the leadership realm. And making these guys and gals become leaders that are going to lead by example and not sit there and break them down constantly. They're not there to be drill instructors, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I feel like that's what happens. And a lot of these staff NCOs, most of them had to go through a B billet. So one of those B billets is you had to be a drill instructor or you recruiter. There's a couple different little B billets that you have to be, but
Okay.
before you hit into the staff NCO.
Okay.
So by the time a lot of those guys are staff and COs, man, a lot of them already been through the drill field and everything. So they're all
Mhm.
freaking still in there with the voices all fudged up, and
Yeah.
you can always tell, like, oh, there's the drill instructor, staff sergeant who's just right out of the drill field.
Wow. Do they alter their voice to sound like that? Because it's so interesting to see Marines how they do the drill instructor voice. Is that like something that's
They do.
altered?
They
Okay,
kind of
wow.
do. And because because we do a lot of screaming and yelling, hollering, they try to teach you how to scream from your diaphragm. So
Diaphragm, yeah.
but a lot of them guys that you hear with the jacked up voices were not using their diaphragms and they destroyed their voices. And now they gotta
Wow.
talk like this all the time now, because
Yeah.
they just
Their
destroyed their
vocals
voice.
are
Yeah, they
yeah,
just destroyed their voices, man.
man.
Uh, I don't know if you've seen any of those boot camp videos, but in the Marine Corps, it is nonstop screaming.
I've noticed. Yeah.
I've watched other boot camps, and I would say that there's not near as much screaming
No.
as there is in the Marine Corps, and I don't hear, I rarely hear a Army drill instructor talk like this, or
Yeah.
even the Air Force, anybody other than the Marine Corps that got these like frog voices.
Yeah. Well, I heard the Air Force is sending an email. They don't yell.
Here's your
I just
little
seen an email.
ego. Yeah. Oh, man, that's great. Well, all right, man, we're gonna go ahead and kinda switch it up and talk more
Yeah.
about, like, when you got out and how you came across the 7 principles, and also about becoming an NFL sports agent,
Yeah.
all that great stuff. I would love to hear all about that. Let's do a quick little break real quick,
Okay.
and we'll give another, veteran some love, and, we'll be right back. American made, veteran owned, we are Doc Goodbeard. It's more than just looking good. When it comes to your beard, we believe you can have it all. Thoughtfully designed, unique fragrances, and affordable prices. We strive to provide a line of uniquely scented balms and oils that you won't find in other products. Come on, rock with Doc, and remember, it's all about the beard, man. So what do you say? Let's take that average beard and make it badass. Go to docbeard.com. So any of you out there that got yourself a nice little beard or even mustache, Doc Goodbeard is a good product out there. He is a Marine veteran, and just love the guy. Got to meet him in person, hang out with him. He's an outstanding dude. So if you want to go help out a veteran-owned business, Doc Goodbeard is a great one to go support. All right, Chaz, let's go ahead
All
and
right.
talk more about life after getting out, man, and
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
life took you.
Yeah, so I was at Fort Lewis, Washington. I got out there. I went off to work in finance. I worked at a dealership. So at first, I was moonlighting while I was in the military. I was selling cars on the side. Very lucrative field for sure. I was making really great money at the time,
I
and I ended
imagine you're a good salesman, dude.
up.
You
That's what
just
they
got
say.
that you got that charisma. I feel like you're ambitious. I mean, you probably
Yeah.
kill sales, and I mean, no one wants to hear that really. Probably you don't want to be in. I mean, do you like sales? I mean, some people
I
like it and
so
some
I
people hate it.
Honestly, I hated sales, man. I hated it. I hated sales. I was a horrible car salesperson because I'm a really good advisor. I can sell someone a development project that's worth like millions, but I was suck selling like a $20,000 Honda. It's just I guess this I'm more of an advisor. I'm more of
I
a
get
high net
you.
worth kind of a guy. So I sucked at car sales. That's why I got into finance. My boss at the time introduced me to F&I, finance and insurance. So I became the guy that you go to for your final deal wrapping. So I go over the APR, the terms. I go over what the bank will finance you at. My job is to work with the bank to sell the loan at a little higher price, and that spread becomes basically commission for myself as well as the company. And so yeah, at first I was
You're
making good
that
money
guy
doing.
back there that we're just, the sales guy comes back and
Yep.
he's got the number, and you're like, no, no, bro,
Nope.
I said this, and
I
then
said this.
you, yeah,
Yep, make them sign this. So,
yeah.
yeah, I did sales for a while. It was decent. I would sell probably like 2 or 3 cars a month, which, is very small numbers where guys are doing like 30 to 40 cars per month. So, I was definitely the weakest guy on the yeah, there were several guys like Celine Willis and Jorge Azcárraga and, several guys. Th Those 2 I remember off the top of my head that just were like really Tommy Clarence Baxley, these guys I was working with that was just really, really good at selling cars. I mean, they were really, really great. They had a
Can
pipeline
I
of
borrow a
business.
cell?
Seriously. Some of them actually still are in the business. They actually either own dealerships now or
Damn.
they still are doing the traditional sales, but they're making 60, $70,000 a month in income. It was crazy the numbers I was seeing these guys making. It's really good money, really good money. I never forget I went to my friend Jorge Oscaraga house in I think it was in Tacoma or Spanaway area, and I went to his house and I saw his property and I was like, "This is all yours?" I'm like, I didn't understand more of how he's selling these cars. And so I started looking at the numbers and just did the backwards math, like, wow, this dude's making like 50K, 70K a month, from selling cars. It's really good money. And so I was making pennies. I was making like 8 grand a month, but I was making 8 grand a month on top of my E4 salary. So it was good money for me, but I really sucked at it. I didn't like sales. I was more of an advisor. There were all types of sell things that I was being taught that I wasn't really applying. It didn't fit my personality. If someone said they didn't like the car, then we don't like the car. Let's go to another car. And so I wanted them to leave feeling as if they made a good decision and they had value, and they would also send me other people. So the folks I did have referring business, all of them would convert. I had 100% conversion rates, but I only converted like 3 or 4 a month. But but finance was more my speed. It was more numbers driven. It's more fact based. There was no real sell. I mean, there is a little bit of sales to it because you do have to get someone to agree to the number. So it's a little bit of a sales, but different type of sales. It's more of advising and more of just in your best interest type of speak, if you will. And so I did that for a while. Then I was flipping cars for some time as well. I found like Rolls Royces, Lamborghinis, Ferraris out of like all Los Angeles area and resell them up in Seattle, Montana, Idaho, Oregon area. And I got into managing artists. I've done a little bit of everything. I was managing a rapper at one point. That was pretty cool. Very adventurous, but pretty cool. Good money. And then me and my ex-wife, we divorced, and she moved back to the East Coast, and I was not going to not be a part of my kids' life, which now I have full custody of the kids, but I was not going to not be a part of their life. So I ended up moving back to the East Coast, and I worked in the federal government. I was a lobbyist at first. I was working in the for-profit sector for education. So I was doing a lot of stuff with lobbying for that, as well as admission stuff, and just kind of have my hands everywhere. My employer was like, "Dude, you have so many talents. We're just gonna pay you good money. Just whatever we tell you to do, just go do it. Like we let you have free reins on what you're doing, but be creative, right?" So I was creative, coming with these really creative deals and doing lobbying stuff and brokering deals with other universities to bring in student population. And one day, Brian, I had a bunch of veterans asking about how to get their claims done because I was the only veteran on the staff at the time, and I was overseeing education policy, stuff like that. And veterans asked me how can they, really strengthen their GI Bill and maximize. And I was teaching what I did to get my master's degree, and I used it for undergrad as well as grad school. And then they started asking about benefits. You know how it is with us veterans. When you ask one question and you're competent on it, you find me a resource. I'm gonna see what else you know. And so they started asking about VA disability benefits, and I was like, you know what? I don't know much about that. I'm 60% as well, and I thought I was more than enough. And so I got fortunate enough to network and politic in Washington, D.C., and I got a job as a rater at the VA up in Washington, D.C., and I came as a GS, I think GS9 or GS10, one of the two. But I came as a GS employee, and
Yeah.
that's what started the process of becoming the CEO of Seven Principles. I started understanding that veterans had a massive knowledge curve when it came down to VA disability claims, including myself. I was no different than any other veteran. And so I started Seven Principles Group as really a side project to help NGOs and lawyers and law firms understand how the claims process works. And from that, it just blossomed to what it is today. And we've been in business now for 11 years, 10 years on paper. We incorporated in 2015, but I did it for the first year for free. I didn't want to charge veterans. I didn't even see myself as doing this kind of work. I'm a finance guy, so I see myself, continuing in the federal space, but then kind of get more into, like, fiscal policy, economic policy, those kinds of things. And so I started Seven Principles as a way to help, B2B transactions, so law firms, NGOs, consulting firms, and then veterans were like, "Hey, I need to know who the guy is behind all this stuff." Like I was basically like an underwriter, the guy you never hear about, but the guy everybody talks about, or you never see, but everybody talks about me. Like Chas said this, Chas said that. Well, who is Chas? And we didn't know who this guy is that's making all these decisions back behind the doors. And so I started getting on the phones with veterans and helping them with their cases, and one told another to another to another until we got overwhelmed, and I started having to have staff, and I incorporated the business, and here we are today, 11 years later. And it's been a blessing because now we have a number of different things under our umbrella. We do mortgages as well. We do real estate sales. We have a private equity entity that will go live in November. We're working on stuff with the SEC to make sure we're fully compliant to take 506 C contributions to our accredited investors. And then, of course, the NFL became a most recent thing, which has been a blessing too. Veterans that serve in the military and veterans that play in NFL, their transition is very similar. They have the same problems. The disability process is also very similar. The what some would say fall from grace, quote unquote, is also very similar as well. These men that play in NFL, they feel as if they're not valued as much as they used to be valued when they were in NFL. They get forgotten. The same with our veterans. They serve in the military. You were that guy or gal. You was that general or that sergeant major, or maybe you was that great E4, whoever you were. You were great at one period of time, and then once you leave the military, you're a veteran now. No one gives a shit. Like you're off on your own. And so I see this pattern with both. I would deal with both demographics equally. I deal with NFL players. I deal with veterans as well, and their transition is extremely similar. Only difference is one got paid significantly more over their contract value versus the other, and but their ending is very very similar. Unfortunately, a lot of veterans committing suicide, so are NFL players.
Yeah.
Veterans are trying to find ways to cope, so are NFL players. Veterans are committing crimes because of their history, the trauma they deal with, or just the differences or what have you. So the NFL players, it's very, 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 very similar. But
That's
it's
something they don't really try to obviously that's something that they don't broadcast enough, right?
Mhm.
And we don't speak about it. It's one of those, let's not talk about it as much as we can. Same thing with the veteran suicide rate, but they've had no choice but to start talking about it because it's just smacking
It's
them in the
alarming.
face,
Yeah, it's
right? It's
alarming.
alarming rates. And then, same thing with professional athletes. That's something I don't think a lot of people talk about,
Yeah.
that
Hey, these guys
some
need
of
help.
them, yeah, some of them have taken a lot of traumatic brain injuries,
Absolutely.
and they also have poured their life into something, and when they
Mhm.
get out, now they don't like, "What's next?" Right?
What's
Same
next?
same
Yeah.
thing. Yep.
I talk to guys all the time that play in the league, and I asked them, I said, when you're in the league, did anyone ever tell you to look at your P5 salary and find a way to replicate that and get it in perpetuity? No one's ever had that conversation. And that's going to end. As soon as you're on an NFL roster, that payment ends. There is no extra P5 salary. P5 is just paragraph 5. It's the paragraph of the of the standard representation agreement, their player's contract that governs their salary. They get paid per game. It's broken down over now 18 games, and there's a bye week and 17 games they play in. And so every year there's a league minimum you get every single year. I think for this league year, I think it's like 840 or 905 or something to that effect. And then of course
Wow,
you have
they've
your
really
bonuses on
gone
top of that.
up. Yeah, they've really gone up.
Yes, it's gone up. Yeah, it's pretty. It's up there. But it's a pretty little penny. But when you start adding like the tax and all the things that some of these players deal with personally, just like the military, military pay has gone up as well. And for their respective economic situation, for some people that is good money. But when you look at their taxes, you look, or in some case, not always taxes on the military side, but you look at their responsibilities, you look at some of the taxation that happens, it starts to doing it down to a rather smaller, more realistic number. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on with NFL players that people don't even understand. A lot of folks think these guys just have like enormous paychecks, and it's not always the case. There's probably
I
in
think
every
that's a
locker
big
room.
misconception, right?
Mhm,
Is they're
yeah,
all just millionaires and stuff
millionaires.
like that.
Yeah.
When there's guys, like you said, making the league minimum. I know
Mhm,
one of my buddies who at a high school ended up going to UCLA. Or no, sorry, he went to San Diego State. Then he went to go play with Baltimore Ravens. He got to play with
mhm.
Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all
Yeah.
that stuff. When he first started, he was making, I think, 350,000 $350,000 a year was the league minimum, I think, when he
Mhm,
first started, which that was like 2000 and like two or something. I don't even know what the date. 2000. It was in the early 2000s, around that time frame. But
mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, these some of these guys aren't making really much money, and as much time as they have to commit to it as
It's
well in
100% your
terms of
life.
hours,
Hours,
you
yeah,
know?
it's 100% your life. And if you are late and if you don't show up, there's fines for that. And those fines are not, they're very, very steep fines. And so, I tell people when I meet them in the community, because I just got into agency business, but I've been in it for about a year and a half now, just trying to make sure I get qualified. It is a brutal process to become an NFL agent. So, I was fortunate to be one of the very few that actually got, selected for the role and passed the exam and stuff like that. But I tell folks, out of a locker room of, let's say, 53 men, there's a 53-man roster. Let's say out of that locker room, you probably only would have, 10% of those guys are multimillionaires. The rest of those
Right.
guys are trying to figure it out for themselves. And, imagine you going to dinner with a guy that's making $12 million a year and you're
You're
making, 800,000 a year. It's a much bigger difference there, So.
Yeah, it's like, "Hey, where's the dollar menu?" Uh, but, so, let's back up a little bit in terms of,
Mhm.
someone that wants to, uh, needs help with their disability claims and stuff like
Yeah.
how do they go through you? How do you get started on the process? Kind of walk us through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I always give a disclaimer. I tell veterans you have options, right? You have free resources, which are like your VSOs, that's
Yep.
VFW, DAV, and so forth. But there's a reason why we exist, just a caveat. You also can DIY, but be cognizant that you have to be competent and you're pretty much recognized as a pro se litigant when you're coming in front of the VA and you're doing your case yourself. So you're responsible for being timely, you're responsible for being competent, and you're also responsible for your own performance. So if your claim fell, it probably will fail in perpetuity because you only get one chance a lot of times for a lot of cases. So perpetuity for listeners mean that, for the rest of your life. So you only get one shot sometimes if you cannot have a good appeal that would get it overturned if it gets denied. So and then you have folks like us, Seven Principles. We do all the work for the veteran. We take that burden off of our clients, which they love that. We unfortunately do not accept every single customer. We decline about 60% of veterans that come seek help from us. And more likely than not, it's because the case does not have merit. We're very honest about what we're doing. We don't want to waste your time or our time, but we do all the work for the veteran. They fill out one intake form. They can visit our website, which is on the screen here, sevenprinciples.com. They can complete an intake form. It's 18 questions and about maybe 12 of them are like first name, last name, email address, stuff you just right? And there's like, what service did you serve? What branch service did you serve in? And what was your character discharge, stuff like that. And then from there, our account management team takes care of the case and move things through the process. And then it goes to our case managers. Our case managers, by design, are former VA Raiders or at least VSOs. That's the minimum requirement is to be a former VSO. They're competent. They understand the process. They also understand how to ensure veterans get the most money possible out of their case if there's evidence that supports that. And then from there, that's pretty much it. We do all the work for them. They do nothing. We don't want them to do the work because we fear if they do any of the work, they can mess it up, and that could mess up their chances for getting approved for their claim. So that's our claim to fame. We've been at it for 10 years or 11 years now. We have touched about, I want to say maybe like 38,000, almost 40,000 cases in the last few years. We're a small unit. We focus on efficiency and being able to do things, the right way for the veteran. We do the whole process to include coaching sessions. So you will have to go through CNP exams. Those are compensation and pension exams. We actually coach veterans up for them so they understand the elements, understand the CFR requirements. A lot of us, we downplay our symptoms because that's just our pride and service is who we are as people. But we want to make sure the veteran understands to not do that. That's where they get the most benefit. But that's 7 principles on the VA claim side. We do the same for the real estate side as well as the mortgage side. We underwrite VA loans. We don't underwrite. We originate VA loans as well as what's called non-QM, such as fix and flip deals, your investor deals. But we do VA, FHA, USDA, conventional as well. And for those veterans looking to get a good bargain, we actually reduce our spread on commission. Most outfits charge 275 basis points, which is 2.75%. For veterans, we drop it down by 100 basis points, so they pay 1.75%. So that's our way of saying thank you for your service and trusting us with your mortgage needs. I mean, of course, that's if you're going through our process. I mean, we don't do it just for every single veteran because obviously we go out of business that way without charging the proper points because the money costs us money as well. So, but for those that go through our process, we make sure they're taken care of. And a lot of veterans had asked us for a long time to get into the mortgage space. We actually have a partnership with Veterans United as well. So we had contemplated it for many years. I would say like probably 6 years before we actually set up a whole branch here in Texas. So that's 7 principles. They can go to our website. They can go to our brands. They see all different websites. And we have the app that's also fairly new. It'll be fully marketed, if you will, in November of this year. October, it goes into more of an alpha phase. And then November, we start really marketing heavy. And just to give listeners and yourself, Brian, a little bit of depth about the app, what we found is that a lot of people were willing to pay for the service because they either couldn't find what they needed on the freebie side and they didn't trust themselves to handle the process themselves, which is a smart decision. Seek help if you need help, right? But when they came to us, with the ones that we did accept out of the 40% that we do accept, they were like, well, this price point is too much. It's more of a cost versus an investment for them. And so we were like, well, hey, this is our rules. This is our policy. We do some incentives here and there, but this is what we have to, charge you to make sure lights stay on and people payroll taking care of that kind of thing. But we saw a lot of people walking away and then going to do it themselves or going to a free resource and then coming back to us a year later with the case all messed up. We were like, oh, we got to find a way to fix this problem. We got to find a solution. And so we invested heavily into AI to help veterans understand how to do their cases themselves. And so our AR app allows for not only, there's two parts of it. It's a military component, it's a veteran component. So on the military side, it generates resumes for you. So if you just type in your AFSC, SFSC, MOS, or rate, which are your jobs in the military, and it will spit out a whole resume based on your what you did in the military, also what you obtained prior to military. We do get professionals that come to the military age, let's say 30, that have a whole entire career prior to.
Sure.
And we also get guys and gals that have been out of the military for, let's say, 10 years, and they've done some things after the military as well. So it takes all the information, makes it to a standardized resume that will work on the federal level as well as the public and private sector level. And it allows them to showcase what they're doing as well. Just kind of forward speaking here, phase 2 of the app will come out in the second quarter of 2026. We have a partnership with another entity that actually grades their resume based on each job they're looking to apply for. And that gives them a really high chance of passing the ATS, which is the applicant tracking service, which allows for you to kind of hit that top resume tier for employers to see who you are and what you have to offer to their organization. So that's the military side. On the VA side, it takes all the VA information and makes it into one bucket. So forms, how to file certain things, and then it has a creative model where you can ask a question like, how do I connect my mental health to my migraines? And it will tell you how to do it. And it'll show you where it's at in our system to pick it up and that kind of thing. So that's our way of giving back and trying to help those that may not be able to afford our services. Resumes, there's a monetary component to the app as well. A resume would cost anywhere between like 40 to 50 bucks. Where in the actual real world, it probably will cost $400 to get a resume done like that. That's tailored to your needs. So we're trying to find ways to be unique, think outside the box, also help veterans, also do it autonomously as well. So we're not actually, bringing people in the process. The less people we have in the process, the less the more savings we can pass on to our consumer. So that's the app. It comes out fully in October, but November we start marketing. So be prepared to see like ads and TV commercials about what the app does and who it helps and how it accomplishes the mission for military and veterans.
That's outstanding. And anybody out there, and you've been thinking about going and doing your claim, stop thinking about it and go do it. But I would recommend help. Having
Mhm,
someone to walk you through the system. Us veterans tend to have a lack of patience.
mhm.
So, we're dealing in a lot of this stuff, you're dealing with people that, and you're going back and forth, paperwork, a lot of paperwork,
Yeah, a lot of paperwork.
appointments,
Mhm,
things, and you have to make sure you're showing up and you're doing all these things. But you forget anything wrong that step, man, they can disqualify you or, redo it. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, and it
mhm,
does help to have someone to kinda help you through that system and help you through that process and maximize what you can get because
mhm,
doing it on your own, you're just gonna be out there on a whim, and they've made this damn system so
mhm.
hard
It's complicated.
to do it. It is really they've made it to the point where you almost can't do it by yourself,
Yeah,
unless you got that patience, you got that drive, all those things that kinda require it, so it is outstanding to have more systems, things out there to help our brothers and sisters kind of get through that because it gets to the point too where you almost want to give up during the
yeah,
process because they make it so hard on you, right?
man.
But if someone else is bearing that weight for you, man, it does make things a lot easier.
A lot easier. I was an actual federal official. I was a raider, and I give them my own case. Seriously, I went from 60 90%. And I knew things were wrong in my case when I was denied, and I was so over the process. And I was a federal official. I never forget one of my colleagues in my office showed me my file, and for if you're a federal official, or at least if you're a raider at the VA, all your files go to St. Paul, Minnesota, to that regional office. A gentleman was like, the veteran is, or no, it said the claimant. The claimant is a raider in Washington D.C. That was the notes on my the internal notes that veterans don't see. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, like this whoever this person is in St. Paul, Minnesota, took the time to research who I am. Probably looked up in
Call you
Global.
out.
Yeah, and call me out. Which I'm sure there's a sensitive level. Okay, I'm a sensitive 7, so I know that he probably saw a sensitive level, and only a certain kind of folk can see that. You have a certain clearance to see that level of clearance. And so even when I call the VA now, even I've been out of the government now for quite some time, I still have to go through the sensitive level 7 procedure, and a special person comes on the phone and deal with my matter. So, but even with that, I got 90% and I got denied a bunch of things I knew were credible and that I had evidence to prove it. I gave up as well. And it took friends of mine to really say, "Hey, you've been helping a lot of veterans across the country. Dude, you should be the first person to get your benefits." And I was like, "Nah, I'm just over it, man. I'm tired." So with that being said, I also tell people this is my personal journey. You can look it up. I can show it to you and prove it to you that I gave up a long time ago. I had 60% for probably 8 years and just thought that was more than enough money. I didn't know that there was other opportunities for me in the VA claims process. So like you said, Brian, if you are out there and you want the help, obviously there's 7 principles that can help you as well, but just go get it done. Whether you do it yourself or whether you find a resource or you find a guy or gal or a battle buddy that you trust that really understands it, just get it done because if I look back on how much money I left on the table, it was around $250,000, over $250,000 of like
Mhm.
overtime,
Nice
the
stamp.
money that
Yep.
was there.
Sure.
So that would have changed that could have changed my zip code a long time ago. So I'm thankful that we're in a position as a company where we have folks that tell us, you guys are doing the Lord's work, you guys changing zip codes. I cannot invest in real estate. We've had people that have had student loans on their credit report that would get 100% prem total, and the loans are gone. And now they invest in real estate. So now having a negative net worth of like let's say 200K, they have a positive net worth of like 250K. So it's like they're doing such. It's you'd be surprised how one VA claim that goes in your favor from let's say 60 to even 90, how that compensation can change a lot in your whole portfolio. So, and you've earned it. It's yours. It's just a matter of going to go get it done and
A
being patient with the process.
and beyond really kind of even yourself, your dependents can really,
Absolutely.
benefit from it as well, right?
Absolutely.
My daughter, goes to UC San Diego, and
Hmm.
she's, been blessed to get, money from the VA every month,
Yeah.
you
Every
know,
month.
so it's been,
And school is
quite the
paid for.
blessing. Yeah, so it's been quite a blessing for her, and I know she, without that, I'm sure she could have probably still done it, but she doesn't have to have all these crazy loans
Yeah.
and
Just
things
the
against
pressure.
her, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes, doing it just because you got kids or even your spouse can
Mhm.
benefit from it as well.
Mhm.
They can go get their degree and things of that nature. So sometimes just doing it for that, can be
It's
a
worth it in
big
itself.
more
Yep.
exactly.
Absolutely. Yep.
And sometimes we gotta, invest not just in ourselves, but in our future, and that's our kids or
That's our
family. And
kids.
yep. So
Yeah.
I know I've for sure I was that stubborn one too that took a while to go do my VA claims, right? And
Mhm.
then without my buddy who had already done it really quick, and he had been reaping the benefits, and he just been telling me, dude, dude, and I just
Yep.
dog, I don't feel like man, I don't feel like doing that shit, and
Yeah. Yep.
I get one excuse after other, and then once my wife came into my life, she really started pushing it, and then
Mhm.
pushing it so much, she was like, "Here, I'll do the paperwork. You just gotta go
Yeah.
show up for your appointments
Your
and stuff."
appointments.
So, if she hadn't done that, I don't even know if I would've gotten as far as I did, but, you know, after everything was said and done, I look back and say, "My gosh," just like you,
Mhm.
10 years
It's a lot of
gone,
money.
left the money that was just gone, and I
Yep.
could have really used some of that. I really
Absolutely.
struggled during those 10-year,
Yeah.
span where I coulda used that extra, money, but because my pride, all those things, the things I've always been taught to suck it up, don't take handouts,
Yeah.
I was looking at it the wrong way,
It's exactly. I think a lot of
right?
veterans do,
A
unfortunately.
and I
Yeah.
think we do, and I think there's that big misconception, and I think that's where I think we need to, as veteran, some of us need to start educating our veterans, our younger
Mhm.
veterans, and say, "Hey, man, don't go. You're gonna waste about 10 years if you keep listening to the peanut gallery."
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
If you keep listening to that peanut gallery, man, 10 years can go by, and then now you're gonna be like, "Gosh, damn,
Yep.
I would have done this 10 years ago."
Yeah.
Like, hello, you
Yeah,
know,
and we tell veterans as well, like, 10 years go by very fast, but 10 years is a difference between 50 and 60. You also get your claim denied based on just the progression of your age. So, you can end up double fucking yourself by waiting so long because now you're older, especially for those guys and gals that did 25 years in the Marine Corps or the Army or whatever, whichever branch you served in. But you did 25 years. Let's say if you came in at 20 years old, you're 45 years old. 10 years, you're not at 55. Things naturally just decline health wise at age 50 and above. So we understand that, especially in some men. And so your cases have a likelihood of getting denied even more
that
because
service connected is gonna be a lot
it's
harder
a
to
lot harder to
service
prove.
connect, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
No, and that's a true fact, and that's why I'm saying wasting another day is not worth it,
Hmm.
and when from the time that you go put in that claim, guys, the clock starts for you.
The
So
retroactive
if
payments.
it
Yep.
if it takes 2 to 3 years to get it all said and done, well, don't worry about it.
You're
They're
getting
gonna
back pay.
pay you that 2 to 3 years worth of back pay.
Hmm. I never forget, Brian. I woke up one morning, I had $67,000 in my bank account. And I need the money. Yeah, I need the money. I had stuff going on. I was trying to make some really great investments for myself in real estate. And I woke up one morning. I had a dream actually a couple nights before. I had a dream that I checked my bank because this bank account where my VA disability go to. I don't touch the account. I don't touch it at all. It just money stays there and it just kind of accumulates over time. But at that time, I was using that account for a myriad of different things. And so I had this dream that I looked into my bank account and it was like a large sum of money. And I was like, oh God, that'd be great, right? I just woke up to like random money in my account. But then it also scares me because where would that money come from? It doesn't belong to me. And where would it come from?
Exactly.
So I woke up one morning, like a few days later, and something said check your bank account. So I checked my bank account, it was like 67,000 plus was in there. And I was like, whoa, where did this come from? The dream became like almost a nightmare because I was like, whoa, I had this dream. It would be great to have that kind of money at the time. But like, where did it come from? And so I saw VA and it was like chapter, and I said, oh man. That's VA disability. I must have got an increase. And I looked at e-benefits and boom, it was there. I actually have this picture that I have as part of an ad where I looked at the paperwork. I just was like so relieved because I took years to do it. I put it all off. I didn't feel like I was supposed to have the benefit, and then I got denied a bunch of times, and then I kept appealing, and finally my appeal was perfected, and it worked, and I got back paid for it. So yes, to your point, for those men and women listening, please file your claim. But when you file it, you also have access to what's called retroactive payments. It goes based on date of intent. I can get very technical here, but simply put, the day you file or do intent to file is when you get paid back from, you get an increase, and that's typical for almost all cases.
Yeah, and if you're a veteran out there and you're living paycheck to paycheck,
Hmm.
and you're just like, sometimes you're struggling to make ends meet, man, I'll tell you what, go get yourself rated, and you'll now all of a sudden, boom, there's this little extra something there for you,
Absolutely.
right? Your car breaks down, you need,
Hmm.
your gas, boom, now all of a sudden you have this extra cash there, right?
Yep.
And I think a lot of veterans have this other thought in their head that they're going to take away from somebody else.
Yeah, they're not.
When you enlist, every one of us, we're accounted for.
Hmm.
They can't deny if 100 of us went in, 100 of us need to get VA, 100 of us are entitled to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're not like, well, only 80 of you guys are going to be allowed. There's 20 of you that ain't allowed. So, I think that a lot of you got to get that removed from your head and go out there, man. And just like any other thing, if enough people aren't out there asking for it, they'll take it away and they'll go
Yeah.
give it to something else.
Yep. And if I can give some context around it as well. So a lot of veterans feel like that, right? They feel like, oh, it's not for me. Let me give you some numbers around that. About 30% of veterans actually use the benefit. So 70% of veterans in that ballpark don't even get compensated at all, or they're
Wow.
significantly underrated.
Wow.
Every year there's a fiscal budget that goes out. The appropriation, the Ways and Means and Appropriation Committee actually in Congress actually determines what each budget would be for each agency, right? Each
Sure.
agency
Right.
sends their budget over. It's already in the budget to pay you out. So it's in the VA's best interest to pay the money out, because if I have to go back to Congress and say, well, I asked for X amount of dollars, but I only spent less than that, then
Next year
you're
they'll
going
be
to lose
getting
money.
less.
You
Yeah.
get less money, right? Because you don't need the extra money, right?
Right.
So it behooves veterans to get what they're supposed to get. And just from a number standpoint, only 30% or so of veterans actually are getting the compensation that they actually supposed to get. 70% of them are underrated significantly, which that means that money goes back to the feds, which, like you said, Brian, they use that for somewhere else. I could put another 25 million here, another billion there, another 250 million here. And instead that could have went to the pockets of men and women that serve our country. But a lot of them, unfortunately, say, oh, I leave it for someone else. No, it's yours. You've already been accounted for. It's already in the budget. If it's yours and you qualify for it, you should definitely pick up your compensation.
Absolutely. And don't feel bad about it either. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? My gosh. I'm sure some of you, when you get out of your bed, you're every cracking and popping, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
a little, especially a lot of you guys that were jumping out of helicopters and stuff
Hmm.
and doing all your, I've seen some horrible landings, man, in the freaking on some of those
Very
rails.
horrible.
Gosh damn, dude, where I'm just like, ooh. And then they're like,
Yeah.
not service connected. Uh, yeah, like I got a video for your ass. Tell me that's not connected. All right.
Right.
All right, Chaz. Well, hey man, is there anything that we didn't really touch on or any last minute things that you want to talk about before we get ready to head out?
No, I think we covered it all, man. I hope that I was able to offer some value. I'm sure there's a lot of questions for the viewers and listeners out there. And like I said before, I'm an open book. If they want to contact me, of course, I'm on social media. They can Google my name, Chas Sampson, ChasSampson. All my channels come up from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook and stuff like that. So if they want claim helps, please, if you want claims help, please go to the website. I am the CEO of the firm, so I don't get involved with a lot of the cases. I know people want me to do that. I also have a podcast I may start doing as well. A lot of folks ask me questions, and so I decided to just make like an open hotline. I do want to be of a service to people, man. I do want to help people best I can. But I am stretched pretty thin, so I thought maybe the best way I could do it is, folks like yourself, Brian, and other people I've talked to on podcasts have really encouraged me to get into podcasting. So I figure I'll probably do like a show, I don't know, once every so often, once a month or something like that, and just group all the questions I get. Because all the listeners that are listening that are going to DM me, I'm not going to respond immediately, but I will get around to it. So I thought the best way that I could do it is to do a podcast where I answer all these questions, do Q&As, and help give resources out for free, and just however I can be of a value. So thank you once again for sharing your platform with me. It means a lot, and hope the listeners found some value in what I had to share.
Absolutely, man, and I absolutely enjoyed having you on. Um, you are an amazing dude. I thank you so much for your service to our country and for what you're still doing. You know what I mean? You're
My
still out there
pleasure.
kicking ass, and I imagine we will see amazing things out of Chaz. And yeah, like I want to say though, man, you keep doing what you're doing. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? We need more people out there to help our brothers and sisters see the light and
Yes,
get there,
sir.
you know what I mean? Because we
We'll do.
are we are one of the best fighting forces in the world. And also, let's not just talk about the podcast. Go ahead and do it, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm here
yeah.
for you. I'm here for you. You know what I mean? If you need any questions, hey, how do you do this? What's the best for this? Hey, I can help you out. No problem
I
for
appreciate
sure.
that.
And I think that podcasts are kind of the way of the future of things. And a lot of times people get to know you on a personal level. So you go and doing those question and, answers. That's perfect, dude. Cause you'll have a
Yeah,
list of questions and kind of get to know a little bit about Chaz as well.
yeah.
So,
There's a whole
um,
list. Oh my god. We have like I think it's like 1,400 questions that our staff generated already from like DMs, emails, and
man,
yeah,
if nothing else, cut them up into little reels. You know what I mean? Just,
literals, yeah,
yeah, you know how everybody's like, like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and that's
yeah,
what they want, so give them a little, just maybe you do a question and answer on a reel, boom, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Or you just make a
That's
whole show and then break them up into little
break them
reels.
down. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're gonna do. Yeah, it's so crazy you saying that because we just invested into a media team, Brian. We've been around
Oh,
for
hell yeah.
11 years and
Yeah.
have never invested into a media team. So we have a media and a PR team. We spent quite a bit of money for it, but we see it as an investment. But we've just been doing the work, man. Just doing the work. We get most of our
Boots
clients
on
word
the
of mouth.
ground.
Boots on the ground, yeah. And so now I'm at the point where you know what, I have such a decent following, and people really trust what I have to say, and they've tried what I've said and it's worked for them. And then they refer their friends and work for them. And it just keeps working, keep working. I've been consistent. So yeah, thank you for the inspiration, bro. I definitely probably be tapping with you. And I just really appreciate the support and helping me, kind of help more people.
Absolutely, man. You seem like a hell of a leader. You know what I mean? And the army lost a good dude when you decided to get out. Um,
I would agree. But the Army
but
did look out for me. I give them some love. They did. They gave me a school drop, which was pretty cool. So I
that's
got out
good.
90 days
Awesome.
early. So that was, I
That is
guess that's
cool.
one good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta give credit when credit's due, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
All right, everybody, once again, go check out sevenprinciples.com and, see if Chaz and his team can help you with your claims and get you guys what you rightfully deserve. Chaz, once again, man, thank you so much. And I wish you the best of luck. And you always got a spot here if you want to come talk about something else. We also have a coffee talk where we kind of talk a little bit more about kind of the mental health side of things
Okay.
versus kind of the story path. So if you want to jump on there with my counterpart and me, Marie, she's a Army veteran as well, and we just, we have a good chat about just mental health, man,
Okay.
and trying to help others, and trying to get people out of their darkness and healing out loud. Kind of is
Yeah.
is is kind of our motto. So
I would love that. I appreciate the invite. I definitely take you up on that.
absolutely. Well, man, once again, thank you so much, and we'll see you on
My
the next
pleasure.
one, brother. All
Yes,
right, man.
sir.
All right, friends and family. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for another amazing interview. Once again, go out there and check out Chaz and his team at sevenprinciples.com and see if you can get yourself through the claims process. If nothing else, go find yourself a VSO. Try not to do it on your own. If you have the patience and the okay to do it on your own and the mental health to kind of make it through, go for it. If not, I'd behoove you to find someone else to help you kind of through that process so it doesn't drive you absolutely crazy. Also, if you guys have Facebook, join us over on the Facebook side. Go over to Every Day is a Saturday USMC Veteran in the Facebook group. And we share a lot of cool stuff on there. Things that resources, what other podcasters are doing, what other authors are doing. We have all kinds of places. It's really it's a networking group to kind of help you out. Also, like I said, if you guys would like to be on the show, you can go ahead and email me every day is a Saturday 365 at yahoo.com. Let me know you would like to come on the show and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I hope you guys, once again, are having an amazing day. Don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see y'all.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.